Good morning, everybody. My name is Martin Hickerton. I'm an associate professor at the University of Lincoln at the International Business School, and I'm delighted to welcome you here today to join us for an information session with regards to the Chartered Manager Degree Apprenticeship. Joining me today is my colleague, Alex Altersky, Dr. Alex Altersky. Congratulations, Alex.
Thank you very much. Recently received my PhD. Morning, everyone. My name's Alex Altersky. I'm the Programme Leader for the Chartered Manager Degree Apprenticeship, and I'm going to be talking to you today about what the course involves. And I'd like to introduce to you one of the students from the course, Julie Dobbs.
Morning, everybody. My name's Julie Dobbs, and I'm currently the Voluntary Services Manager at the Northern Lincolnshire and Gaul NHS Foundation Trust, and I'm in my final year of the CMDA course. Thank
you very much. And Alex, it's really great to have you on board as always. And Julie, thank you for joining us. I can only guess how busy it is for you at the moment, and it's very much appreciated that you're taking time out. And the reason we always like to have a student on board is that actually we're going to give you a lot of information today, help you make an informed decision on whether this study is right for you, but who better to hear that from than somebody who's been on virtually the whole journey so far. So what we're going to do today is take you through a slide deck, and then we'll bring Alex in to talk about the programme, and we'll bring Julie in to talk about her experiences, and that'll be a little bit down the line. So guys, I'll catch up with you in a little while. So I'm going to bring up the slide deck here, and hopefully you can all see that. So Chartered Manager Degree Apprenticeship, it's a course we've now been running at the university for close to 3 years, and it's been really popular. Now, you may be here because you're thinking about studying yourself. You're thinking about taking that academic journey, getting to the point where you can celebrate successes and have a qualification under your belt. Some people come to the CMDA having not studied at university at all, and that's absolutely valid. Some people come along having gone through foundation degrees or technical degrees and want to look at leadership and management. That is also a really good route to go down with this course. Of course, you may be an employer. This might be something you're arranging for your staff to help them on their journey. Or you might be part of a professional network. A network where people come together to learn and develop, and whatever that is, you're very welcome. Of course, it may be that it's start of lockdown too, and you're working at home and thinking, what can I do over the next year to challenge myself and take my career forwards? Whatever your situation, welcome. You're in the right place. We're going to talk to you today about the detail of the course, and we will record this broadcast, so this will be available through till application deadline date, which is 18th of December. And of course, please feel free to share. If you are, however, watching live on Facebook, or if you're signed in on YouTube, you can drop in any comments or feedback for us, and we'll make sure we deal with those comments and feedback and make sure we get some information back out to you straight away. So the agenda for today is talking through what is an apprenticeship. Maybe you've been an apprentice before, maybe this is the first time you're considering it. We'll give you the detail of what it involves. Alex will talk about the Chartered Manager Degree Apprenticeship, and particularly the Bachelor of Arts Honours degree programme that sits behind that. And then crucially, we'll talk about eligibility and the next steps. So eligibility is not only about could you apply, it's is it right for you as a learner, as a student, and it's that suitability question we talk about. And crucially, as I say, we've got questions, we've got opportunities for further discussion, and so do take advantage of that. So apprenticeships, it's essentially an educational programme for career development with a mix of classroom and on-the-job training. So it's the old-fashioned cliche of learn whilst you earn. You don't take a pay cut, you can be fully employed in your current role, but there are some differences. The university is committed to developing staff from a number of employers, private, public sector, through the apprenticeship programme. But it is a programme that is distinct from being a student. There's 20% off the job learning from your employer, for example, and there's various commitments as a learner, as a university who delivers this, and the employer who will be sponsoring you through. So we'll talk about all those things today. But it's not just about the numbers of people who come through. They have had a really popular 8 intakes actually on this course. But it's remembering it's about the individual. It's good for individuals to continue their growth. But it's also, we found, a really good program for employers, because all of the assessments that you take are related back to your workplace. Your work-based project is related back to your workplace. And we make sure that it's all practical and something that you can put into practice in your day-to-day life that will really help move your career forwards. So just a note on what an apprenticeship looks like. It comes into 4 stages: enrolment, learning, gateway, and then endpoint assessment. And we'll try and keep acronyms to a minimum today. I know they always sneak in, but you'll hear endpoint assessment referred to as EPA. So that's the first one we're going to mention, other than CMDA, of course. The first stage is enrolment. For any apprentice, it's a really important stage where you enrol if it's right, if it's the right thing for you at the right time. If it is correct, and this information session is part of that process, we'd welcome you to the university with a formal induction. We'd check your skills level, we'd talk about where you are as a learner, and set up an individualized learner record, an ILR. So that is the enrolment stage. And once that's all completed, you move on to actually being a learner or a student with the university. You get regular visits from assessor. Now, at the minute, because there's a certain virus going around, we are doing all of the course virtually and remotely, but typically we would have face-to-face teaching as part of this course, and it's usually 1 day per module, and Alex will cover that off. You get the 20% of your work life, which is given over to the apprenticeship, and there's regular monthly reviews. Now, that's a very small box to carry across a lot of information and learning, but once you've been through that learning, i.e. the degree plus apprenticeship elements, you get to the gateway. And that's the gateway is when your assessor and your manager say you're ready to go to the endpoint assessment, at which point you submit a portfolio of evidence. It's a variety of assessments. We typically see an interview and a discussion at that point, and that's with the Chartered Managers Institute, who we use. And at that point, you'll have a degree and you'll have an apprenticeship as well. Now, we actually sometimes call it the triple whammy program, because it's not just that. You also get the opportunity to get the Chartered Managers Institute level 5 qualification. So you get a number of different qualifications by studying in this one route, and it's been written very carefully and crafted to make sure you hit the learning outcomes throughout. But ultimately, it's underpinned by what we call a level 6. It's a degree course. So it's a degree apprenticeship, and that's delivered by the team here at the Lincoln International Business School. Now, I say the team here because obviously I'm at home at the moment and Alex isn't with me, but virtually we're all together. And on that note, I'd like to bring Alex back onto the stream. Hi again, Alex.
Hello.
And I'm going to pass across to Alex to talk us through the modules and the assessment. And I'll hide in the background and I'll pop back on again when we talk about the 20%. Thanks, Alex.
Martin. Thanks. So the Chartered Manager Degree Apprenticeship, it is actually underpinned by a degree, which is the BA Honours in Professional Practice in Leadership and Management. So this is an undergraduate degree which lasts for roughly three and a half years, which consists of a number of modules. So you can see the modules here on this slide. The modules so there's 4 modules per year in the first and second year, and 3 modules in the third year. So you can see in the first year, the 4 modules: personal effectiveness for leadership, managing developing people, management of business finance, communication, professional practice. So what you do is you study each module sequentially. So basically you start a module and you're studying that one module. It's roughly 10 weeks for each module. So those 10 weeks, what that looks like is in the first week of the module, there is a day of teaching. Now, coronavirus allowing or not, that day of teaching would be face-to-face, but at the moment we're doing that as a day of online teaching. So we will be reviewing that, of course. So you have that day of teaching at the beginning with your tutor. And then you have weekly webinars. So those webinars are approximately an hour a week. In those webinars, you get to meet up with your classmates, with your tutor. There's some teaching happens, there's some guidance, there's some things you should be looking at in terms of gathering your work-based evidence and all of those things. So those webinars, they are live, but we do record them because we understand that as work-based learners, things may come up in the workplace where maybe you need to deal with an issue and you can't make it live. So you carry on and you study that module for 10 weeks. At the end of the 10 weeks, actually on the 11th week, you hand in the work for that module. And then on the 12th week, you start on week 1 of the new module. So that's kind of how it works. So you're focused on one thing at one time. Now, we've actually written the BA Honours Professional Practice in Leadership and Management specifically to match what's called the Chartered Manager Degree Apprenticeship Standard. This is a number of learning outcomes that were written by a number of employers and the Chartered Management Institute that basically show that you as a manager, if you can actually show that you've got the knowledge, evidence of the knowledge, skills and behaviours linked to these learning outcomes, it actually shows that you are a chartered manager, that you are sort of a level 6 level manager. And what we've done is we've written our degree around this standard. So actually, in each module you are studying, you're learning with your tutor, you're learning with your peers, you're creating assignments, but also you are gathering work-based evidence that's being gathered together to put into a portfolio of evidence for the degree apprenticeship. So we're actually sort of achieving two things. You're doing the academic side of things, but you're also gathering your work-based evidence within each module. So you carry on. Sorry, can I just go back a slide for a second, please? So you carry on through the modules, and then you've got the second year modules you can see there. And then you can see in the third year, there's only 3 modules. That's because the very last module acts as a double. And this is a work-based project that you'll be doing, something to do with leadership and management, professional practice in the workplace that you'll be doing, which you'll be doing a work-based project on, but you'll also be delivering it in the workplace as well. So it all links to your workplace. One of the keys to this course is that it's driven by workplace learning and driven by actually making a difference in the workplace by applying this learning to your workplace. Yeah, so I think I've talked through a few of these things, the 10-week modules except the final project. We have an induction, and that will be face-to-face if we can, but we can do it online. We have our weekly webinars. So you have a tutor or teacher for each module that is an expert in that field that will take you through that module. But you also have somebody called a portfolio support tutor. That's somebody who's helping you build the knowledge, skills and behaviours evidence for your portfolio. And that person will be with you throughout the course. So although this course is delivered as a blended course, a blend between face-to-face and online, and at the moment it's completely online, actually, we truly feel that this isn't just, this shouldn't be a sort of an empty process where you're not getting contact, where you're not getting that sort of human touch, where you've got your portfolio support tutor who's sort of with you, guiding you all the way through, and then you've got the various other tutors that you get as well. We have lots of, we're very experienced in delivering courses like this, blended. We have a really advanced virtual learning environment. We have lots of other resources. We have our library is set up for blended learners with lots of ebooks and lots of things like this. We have links to the CMI, so you get all the CMI resources as well. So, you know, we're really well set up for this, and we really have an understanding in the business school about work-based learners and about the sort of challenges and issues that they have, and that they're slightly different to maybe your traditional undergraduate learners who have maybe just finished sixth form. And we're really focused in embedding those work-based skills and bringing those into your work. In terms of the assessment then, each module that you study has a piece of work that you have to hand in. We call it a portfolio of work. In that portfolio, you're going to be writing assignments, management reports, there could be presentations, and those are, so there's normally 3 elements to each portfolio. There's normally a knowledge element where you're showing that you've engaged with the management knowledge around the area and you've got some sort of discussion. There's normally an application or practice element where you're showing that you've implemented these things in the workplace and you've actually you know, tried to change things in the workplace linked to these things. And there's a reflection element where you're showing what you've learned and how you're going to change your management practices going forward in the future. We have obviously lots of assessment opportunities, formative assessment. So you know, you've got your tutors and you've got your portfolio support tutors that if you want advice, you can hand in drafts, etc. And we really sort of want to get the best out of you in these things. You have summative assessments as well, where you get your final grades. Now, at the end of the degree and at the end of the degree apprenticeship, you go to endpoint assessment. So within endpoint assessment, you have to have 3 things, really. You have to have a portfolio of evidence showing the knowledge, skills, and behaviours. You have to have a work-based project that you've done. And you also have to do a presentation on this work-based project. So those 3 things are all built into our final module. So you're actually doing them within our final module, and then you're actually presenting them all again to the Chartered Management Institute as your end assessment there. So we've really thought about this, embedding it all together, the degree apprenticeship, and obviously the CMI level 5. Now, obviously, you're doing a degree, the BA Honours in Professional Practice and Leadership and Management. At the end of it, you know, if you're successful, you'll get that degree, and you'll be able to come to graduation. And at the moment, our graduations are in the Cathedral in Lincoln. And as the picture is there, you'll be able to wear the funny hats and throw them up in the air and celebrate. And so on your time on the CMDA, the degree apprenticeship, you'll also be a full student of the University of Lincoln, being able to take advantage of all of the things that the university offers to students, the discounts, the leisure facilities, etc., etc. So you'll be a full student with us as well, which is exciting. Now, one important thing to understand about apprenticeships and degree apprenticeships is that built into these courses is something called 20% off the job training. What that means is that basically, whatever your working contract is, you should be using 20% of that time as time in which you are learning, linked to the degree apprenticeship. Now, so that time could be used through traditional learning type activities. So it could be when you come, when you actually have your day of teaching at the university, or you come to the university for that day of teaching. It could be linked to your tutorials with your tutor. It could be linked to study time for when you're writing your assignments. It could be linked to your webinars. It could be linked to reflections as well, but it can also be linked to work-based learning. If you've learned something on the course and you're implementing it in the workplace, and then you are reflecting upon it as well, that can also be used as 20% off the job. So the way this sort of works in the best way really is when you and your employer and the university, we all sort of work closely together and look at sort of what different types of learning are coming up on the course, and then look at your role and how you can link your role to that learning, and how you can implement things to do with projects. So for instance, we have a communication module, communication and professional practice, and part of that module you've got to review issues around communication that are maybe happening within your organization and workplace, and then you've got to implement a project which is actually helping to increase the effectiveness or efficiency of communication. So that work that you're doing in your workplace to implement that is actually work that's benefiting your workplace, that can also go towards the 20% off the job training as well. So that's really the way that it really works well. And there's been some fantastic work-based projects over from the students that are already on the course, where they've found great efficiencies, or they've managed to make processes work much more effectively. So it's really great, this mixture of academia and work-based learning, and bringing those together can really help increase your 20% off the job training.
Thank you very much, Alex. That's really useful. And we only had one Chris Whitty moment there where I moved on the slide too quickly. So not doing too bad, I think. Absolutely. And at this point, I'm going to leave Alex here with me on the stream, because we haven't had any feedback or comments as yet. But at this stage, as we go through towards the second half of the presentation, if there are any, we can answer those as quickly as possible. And I think one of the things I really wanted to emphasise as we move on to the admissions process, and we'll have a word with Julie in a moment, is around suitability and eligibility. So part of the suitability of this programme is that you're in a job and working with an employer who will support that 20% off the job training. And some employers say to us, look, it's that 1 day a week, I'm going to lose this person. And actually, it's not necessarily like that. As Alex articulated, there's different ways of viewing it. It's not 1 day a week where you're on your own reading a book in a broom cupboard. I mean, you might do that, but most people will take it a bit more nuanced. And for example, this slide here talks about the taught sessions, yes, but there's other things like simulated exercises or role play, which can help you learn. Going to visit other disciplines, or going to see other departments in your organisation, presuming that they're in. And there's conferences, maybe online conferences, which are still very prevalent at the moment. And indeed, writing up your assessment. So the point here is that the 20% is important, but there's lots of different ways to express it and to execute that. So all worth bearing in mind when in discussion with your employer. There are other requirements as well. We talked about the commitments of being an apprentice. Well, there's three really key ones here. So as an apprentice, you need to commit to attend, whether that's virtually or face-to-face, as much as possible, recognising that everyone's a human and we've all got lives, but you need to commit to that study time. As an employer, it's commitment to paying the apprentice and giving that time off to study in the working week, the 20%. And at the university, as Alex has talked through, we've got a lot of support and a lot of guidance, and that's our commitment to take you on that teaching journey. And all of those things are expressed through our apprenticeship agreement. So the 20%, the individualised learner record, all the agreements are put into place through the paperwork when we sign you up, and you'll be assigned a work-based mentor and all of the portfolio support to take you through to that end point assessment. So at this stage, I'm going to bring on stream Julie. Hi again, Julie.
Morning.
Hello again. Julie
Morning.
is a current student on the CMDA and has been with learning with Alex's team for a number of years. But before we get into that, Julie, would you mind telling us a bit about yourself and your role that you're working in at the moment, please?
Okay, yeah, that's fine. So I've worked in different departments of the NHS for the past 30 years, but for the last 15 years I've been employed with the Northern Lincolnshire and Goole NHS Foundation Trust, which has hospitals at Scunthorpe, Grimsby and Goole. My role is specifically to develop and look after our volunteers that we have across the sites. Currently, there were 400 volunteers in lots of different roles, lots of different areas. Unfortunately, due to the COVID pandemic and the restrictions that we have on volunteers coming in, we're down to 3 active volunteers at Scunthorpe. So my role has changed drastically over these last few months, really, since March. Yeah, so that's really my role. And the thing is, managing volunteers, because obviously they're unpaid, they give their time freely, and want to do it for lots of different reasons. That could be loneliness, personal development, you know, a number of reasons, as I've said.
It's quite personal to each person.
They are slightly different to manage than paid staff. Yeah. And they're different to managed paid staff, because obviously we do have we don't actually have a contract with them as such, but obviously there are certain rules and regulations that they need to comply with. But like I say, it is slightly different to dealing with paid staff.
I can imagine. And thank you for the overview there. It sounds like a really interesting, but clearly a very much a changing role. How has studying over the last few years helped you in your role in the workplace? Has it given you any benefits?
Yeah, definitely. I really wanted to come on to the course to enhance my effectiveness, if you like, as a manager, for my own self-development, but also for the benefit of the organisation. I've got years of practical experience of managing, and a few thrown in ILM courses for management and for coaching. But I felt it was time really for me to, you know, I was reaching 50 and felt it was time for me to spread my wings. In terms of academia, I'm not really an academic person, if you like, in terms of writing and reading, but I've really enjoyed it, actually. I'm not going to lie, there has been some challenges over the 3 years. But it's certainly benefited in terms of communication, understanding the theories behind the actual practical side of things. So it's definitely helped. Yeah.
Fantastic. And what would you say have been some of the challenges as somebody who's in such a busy role, in such a busy organisation, and how have you managed those through your study?
Well, definitely, obviously, the NHS is ever changing anyway, but certainly this last year has obviously brought its challenges. Working through it, obviously, it's just a case of your effective leadership style. Sorry, I'm waffling. I've forgotten the original question.
It was challenges of being a full-time worker whilst learning, and what you've maybe done to help get through that.
Oh, yeah, sorry. Yeah, so obviously in terms of the 20% that's part of this, for me, I found it easier to set aside a day, and this is why it's important to have the discussions, obviously, with your employer, to make sure that they fully understand the commitment that you're going to have to give to this. So I set aside, say, a Friday, where possible. Sometimes have to work it around, you know, for other work commitments, and actually find it beneficial to have that whole day to do your research, your studying, catch up on webinars if obviously you've not been able to do it. I mean, obviously everybody's busy. You know, a work-life balance is something that we all need to look at. But one of the key things, I think, is as a manager or somebody who works around people, having the work scenarios to draw on is definitely key to the CMDA, definitely, because if you haven't got the scenarios and the situations, it can make it very difficult when it comes to working your way through some of the modules. Certainly for me, finance was definitely not one of my stronger points. Neither was digital business. but there were people within the organisation that I went and spoke to, and got an understanding from their point of view. Communication, obviously, great one for me, because 99% of my time I talk to the volunteers. It's an important part of the role, obviously, and managing and developing people. So although I already have the practical side of things, as I said before, actually, reading further on it and understanding the principles behind it and the theories has definitely made it not as challenging as I thought it would be.
Brilliant.
Just a little note on the work-based scenarios. I mean, that's something that, at the sort of interview stage at the beginning, we will consider that with anyone who applies to the course, because we need to make sure that they are doing a job that is linked to the CMDA, and that they can get these types of things. Although, and at times, so for instance, some students, maybe they don't hold a budget, but we can have those discussions at the beginning and with their employer, and they may be able to do some work shadowing in a finance department, or they may be given a small budget. So that is a consideration. But I understand the challenges, Julie, as well.
Yeah.
That's really useful as an overview. Thank you, Julie. And one last question before we go on to next steps for those people who are interested. But what would your advice be to someone who's considering studying on the Chartered Manager Degree Apprenticeship? Maybe where you were 3 years ago.
Yeah, it's definitely made me grow as a person, professionally and personally. It was quite a big step, I suppose, as an mature learner to go back into academic learning. But I'm right at the end now. I'm at my negotiated work-based project part of it. I've only got 6 months or so left, maybe a little bit less, of doing this. And it can be hard along the way, but it is definitely worthwhile. And I'm hoping I can throw my cap up at Lincoln Cathedral.
Aren't we all? I mean, we're just all desperate to get back to the normal way of life again and having those graduations. And I'm sure when we get back there, you'll be there. Julie, that's brilliant. Thank you so much. For anybody who is then thinking this might be something they'd like to get involved with, there are some entry criteria. As Julie has outlined there, you need to have relevant work experience. It's not something that you can study if you're not in work or not in a management-related position. You don't have to be line managing necessarily, but being responsible, being in a leadership role of a project or resources is important. In terms of the academic side, you don't need to have had A-levels. For example, what we look for is English and Maths level 2, so that's GCSE or equivalent, depending on where you studied or when you studied. 30 hours a week employment contract is typical for this kind of course. I think it technically is possible to go lower than that, but it stretches the course out, so it looks slightly different in length and duration. But we can talk to you about that if you're interested. So if you are interested, the application process is to draft a statement of intent, which is basically a written statement about why you're interested. That goes in to Alex with your other application paperwork, and then there's an interview. Now, it's not to scare people off. Alex just wants to make sure that you're definitely on the right course for the right reasons. So we always like to have well, it won't be face-to-face, but a virtual interview with people at the moment. And we also, because it's an apprenticeship, there's paperwork. So we need the recommendation from the employer and also the ASFA regulatory documents. So that all happens along the way. And the timescale for that, making sure that you are, of course, not just eligible, but it's suitable for you, is the application packs to be requested now. You can just email us. It's cmda@lincoln.ac.uk. And if you can return those packs back to cmda@lincoln.ac.uk by December the 18th, 2020, that means you're in the application process. Alex will pick up the processing with the admin team and run his interviews. I guess January, early February, Alex, is what we're thinking at the moment.
Yeah.
And I used to hear it. And this is cohort 9, and this will start early March 2021, which seems like a futuristic date, but it's going to come around fairly quick. But of course, it's not a decision to be rushed. you need to think about it, chat to your family, chat to your employer. And if you ask any questions, send them to the CMDA email address if you haven't asked them live. I haven't seen it come through today, which means either everyone's had the answers they want, or people would rather ask them by email later, which is absolutely fine. So that takes us through to the end of the presentation, and hopefully that's given you the information you need. Before we wrap up, I'm just going to pass back to our guests. So Alex, any final thoughts from you before we wrap up the broadcast?
Yeah, I mean, I think at the business school, we've got a team of experienced work-based learning tutors who really understand the type of student that will come on this course, and really want to make this course as sort of realistic as possible, linked to the workplace, so that they can actually make a big difference in their own sort of competency and make a difference in the workplace. And as Martin says, we've got 8 cohorts running already, and there's been so much good work done already. So look forward for you to join us.
Fantastic, thank you, Alex. And Julie, any final thoughts from yourself?
Just, if you want to build your confidence, if you want to expand on your learning, go for it. The tutors are great. You get very good support. Everything's there for you. They help you through it, and you'll soon realize that something called a study guide is your Bible.
Good. That's good to know. And I'd just like to take this opportunity to say to everyone, if you are interested, get involved. Ask us any questions. We're here to help. And I'm really pleased that we've had Julie join us today as a live student. I think it really expresses what it's like. And Alex, it's always a pleasure to present with you, albeit we're not in person. So I'm going to wrap up the presentation there. Thank you to everyone who joined us, and thank you to those who helped prepare. We'll hopefully see you soon. Thanks very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.